Hey YouTube, today we're going to rack our Ironbelly Old Ale from the primary vessel to the secondary, and that's going to get it off of the yeast lees and let it clear out and let it age in the secondary. So let's check that out. Okay, here we are. We've got our Ironbelly Old Ale in the primary fermenter, 15 gallons worth of it, and then we have our sanitized secondary fermenter that is ready to receive the beer from the primary. That's going to get the beer off of the yeast lees, and then we will let it age quietly for a little while in the secondary before we bottle it. It's been in the primary for 2 weeks, and I think I'll probably leave it in the secondary for probably, I don't know, maybe about a month, maybe two, to let it age a little bit and mature out before we bottle it. Okay, we've got our CO2 tank hooked up. It's going to a little bit of 1/4-inch air line, and then we've got it necked up to about a 1/2-inch line. Okay, I'll explain that, why we went to a larger size here in a minute. But what we're going to do is we're going to fill the fermenter, at least part way, with CO2. CO2 is heavier than air. And as you can hear, the CO2 is running in over the fermenter. I'm going to get a rag with some sanitizer solution on it. And just cover that up. Excuse me. Okay. Now this line here is going to our racking cane. So when we start, we're going to start pushing CO2 into the primary fermenter, which you can see is lower than the secondary, but we're going to push it instead of siphoning or gravity feeding it. We're going to push it from one vessel to the other, and that blanket of CO2 is going to help keep from oxidizing the beer. All right, so let's switch it over to switch the airline over to start pushing the beer. All right, we've got the beer line running from the racking cane, and then the air line is hooked up from the CO2 tank to the air inlet there. So let's try this out. And we are pushing the beer. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. All right. Ooh, look at it go. And you can hear it going in there. And that beer is not too bad. It's pretty clear. It's going to be awesome. Woohoo!
Back to where you once belonged. Get back, Joe.
Okay, so here we are. We have the beer transferred completely into the secondary. Okay, and the primary is empty except for the yeast cake at the bottom. Real thick yeasty beer, and we're done pushing the beer. At the end of the process, we ended up with all kinds of bubbles coming out of the fermenter. So I was worried that I might not have gotten all the beer out of the fermenter, and when I turned it over, no beer came out. Only this thick yeast. So I think I got it all out. And I left all the yeast behind. That's a good deal. Alrighty then.
Get back to where you once belonged. Get back to where you once belonged. Get back. Thanks, Mo. I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the group and ourselves, and I hope we pass the audition.